This is Nick with logosbynick.com, and in today's tutorial I'll be demonstrating how you can create this impossible hexagon icon graphic using Inkscape. And at any point in this tutorial you could look down at the bottom left hand side of my screen to see which mouse clicks and keystrokes I'm using. So let me minimize this and get started here in Inkscape. And by the way, if you'd like to know how you can make Inkscape appear dark along with these custom icons here, I will have a link to that information in the description of the video. So let's get started. We'll set the view, we'll make sure the view is set to custom. And then we're going to zoom in at 1:1. And then we'll open up the Align and Distribute menu with that button. And then we'll open up the Edit Objects, Colors, Gradients, and Stroke menu with that button right there. So the first thing we're going to do is create a polygon. So let's click on the Stars and Polygons tool. And from the presets up here, we want to have Polygon selected, 6 corners, and Rounded and Randomized both set to 0. And once we have those values set, we can bring the cursor over to the canvas and just hold Control on the keyboard and click and drag to create a polygon. And we want to make sure that the corners of the polygon are going vertically like that. And once you have that set, let's go back to the Select tool and let's right click on this and go to Duplicate. And I'm going to turn this red and then hold Control on the keyboard and click and drag this down to about there. And then I'll hold Shift on the keyboard and click on the black polygon and go to Path, Difference, so that we're left with this little shape right here. And this is the shape I'm going to use to construct the rest of this graphic. So the first thing we should do is really color this thing in. So you see here, if you notice here, I used like a blue gradient. So let's come down here to the color picker and start out with a darker shade of blue. I'm going to go with something like this right here, maybe 0044 AA. And then I'm going to come up to the Fill tab and click on the button that says Linear Gradient. And then I'll press G on the keyboard to get the gradient tool. And I'm going to click on this stop over here to the right. And I'm going to bring the opacity all the way up. And I'm going to make this stop a lighter shade of blue, like this right here, 00CCFF. We'll use that shade. And then I'm going to double click this line right here to create a new stop. And I'm going to put this over here in the center. And I'm going to make this one that same shade we just used, which is the 00CCFF. And then I'll actually come back to this one, and I'll make this a lighter shade. I'll go maybe something like that, maybe a little lighter. That looks pretty good. And once we have our shape set, we can go back to the Select tool, and I'm going to turn on the Snap to Cusp Nodes button, that little green button up there. And then I'm going to right-click this and go to Duplicate, and then click on it again to get the rotation handles. And I'm going to hold Control on the keyboard and rotate this thing around until it's in this position like this. We want to make sure that this edge is running parallel with this edge. And once we have that, we could take the shape and snap this corner onto this corner. So I'm going to grab the shape and I'm going to snap those two corners together right there, and there you have that. And we're just going to go around and do the same thing counterclockwise until we end up with this shape right here. So let's duplicate that. Instead of right-clicking it and going to duplicate, you can just hit Control-D on the keyboard to duplicate it, and that'll create, that'll create a duplicated copy like that. And once you create your duplicated copy, we could take it and hold Control and just rotate this around about that much. And then bring this over here and snap those two corners together. Then we're going to duplicate this again, Control-D, hold Control, rotate this around that much, snap this onto here, onto that corner, Control-D to duplicate, and I'm going to rotate it around 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 4 steps for each duplicated copy we rotated. We'll snap that right there. And one more time, it looks like Control-D, Control-D, and then hold Control, rotate this around 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we could put this right there, just like that. And that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple tutorial how you can go about creating that hexagon graphic using Inkscape. So if you have any questions, let me know. And as always, thank you for watching.